Welcome back to the Actual News Podcast. Today is January 3rd, Friday, and today I've got for you Biden blocking Nippon's steel $14.9 billion bid, Greenland's PM calling for independence, Trump's calling for North Sea oil expansion, and way more other national and global news. Let's go. Per usual, let's begin with some quick news. On Monday, January 6th, the President and First Lady will travel to New Orleans, Louisiana. The President and First Lady will grieve with the families and community members impacted by the tragic attack on January 1st and meet with officials on the ground. NSC advisor Sullivan will travel to India on January 5th and 6th. He will meet with India's security advisor and hold a conversation during a visit to a tech university. Additional security assistance to Ukraine is to be announced in the coming days per National Security Council. Surgeon General calls for cancer warning labels on alcohol. Alcohol is a leading cause of cancer, and alcoholic beverages should carry a warning label as packs of cigarettes do, the U.S. Surgeon General said. The president also plans to permanently ban new oil and gas drilling in large sections of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, as well as other federal waters. The Biden administration said on Friday nuclear power plants will be able to secure lucrative tax credits for production of what it calls clean hydrogen if the credits help prevent reactors from retiring. The Biden administration announced that it would nearly double funding to battle a potential outbreak of bird flu in humans. A half a dozen years after abandoning Kobani, U.S. forces are reportedly building a base in this northeastern Syrian city on the Turkish border that has been riven by strife between Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, the SDF, and Turkish-backed forces. This all comes as a new Syrian government is trying to establish control over the country after ousting Bashar al-Assad. The Israeli government has established a new office at the Ministry of Defense tasked with overseeing technology development in the fields of artificial intelligence and autonomy, according to a government announcement. The FBI has not found a link between the New Orleans attack and the Tesla Cybertruck that exploded the same morning outside a Trump hotel in Las Vegas. A day after the deadly terrorist attack in New Orleans, cautious crowds returned to Bourbon Street. On one corner, a brass band played I'll Fly Away, a staple of the city's jazz funerals. Investigators now believe that the man who carried out the attack, Shamsud Din Bahar Jabbar, worked alone. He planted explosives in coolers before driving through the crowd, officials said. In videos posted online before the attack, Jabbar said he had joined ISIS before this past summer, an FBI official said. Thousands of miles from Washington, where the funeral of Jimmy Carter's is set for next week, an Indian village named after the former U.S. president fondly remembers his visit almost 50 years ago, paying tribute. Meanwhile, President-elect Donald Trump expressed frustration on Friday over the continued lowering of American flags to half-staff in honor of the late President Jimmy Carter during Trump's inauguration on January 20th. President Joe Biden had ordered flags to be lowered for 30 days starting December 29th, the day of Carter's passing, in accordance with customary practice for honoring a deceased U.S. president. A Pennsylvania man who previously served in the U.S. Army was indicted by a grand jury on charges of attempting to support Lebanese militia group Hezbollah and of making false statements to the FBI, the U.S. DOJ said on Thursday. The FBI on Thursday released new surveillance video in a bid to reinvigorate its 4-year-old hunt for a suspect who placed pipe bombs in Washington the night before January 6, 2021, assault on the U.S. Capitol. And Speaker Johnson barely won the speakership with a razor-thin margin of 218 to 215. To longer readouts, POTUS spoke before Sugar Bowl at the Superdome. A heavily armed police presence monitored the nearly 60,000 fans who attended the rescheduled Sugar Bowl. Notre Dame defeated Georgia 23-10, and this message has premiered live on ESPN before the game.
Today, all America stands with the people of New Orleans. We pray for those killed and injured in yesterday's attack. And we're grateful. We're grateful for those brave first responders who raced to save lives. I'm glad the game is back on for today, but I'm not surprised because the spirit of New Orleans can never be kept down. And that's also true of the spirit of America. Just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. God bless New Orleans, and God protect our troops.
U.S. President Joe Biden has also blocked Nippon Steel's $14.9 billion bid to acquire U.S. Steel, citing national security concerns. This decision holds critical investment that U.S. Steel had hoped would prevent idling key mills, marking the end of a high-profile national security review by the Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S., which is CFI-US. The merger, which faced strong opposition from both Biden and former President Trump, had been under scrutiny for its potential impact on the steel supply critical for U.S. infrastructure. Despite Nippon Steel's argument that its investment would strengthen U.S. Steel's output, the deal was ultimately blocked due to unresolved national security risks. Rudy Giuliani is facing a civil contempt hearing in Manhattan federal court over his failure to comply with orders to turn over property as payment toward $148 million defamation award. Georgia election workers Ruby Freeman and Wandrea Moss sued Giuliani in 2021 for defamation, accusing him of damaging their reputations by falsely claiming they helped steal the 2020 election. Giuliani later conceded to defamation and was ordered to pay $148 million, but Freeman and Moss claimed he has not complied with court orders to surrender assets, including his Manhattan apartment and a Mercedes. Giuliani argues that he has faced difficulties due to personal upheaval and that his previous lawyers failed to comply with the requests. His new attorney has framed the case as a political battle. A contempt ruling could further tarnish Giuliani's reputation following his disbarment and criminal charges related to his role in Trump's election challenges. Greenland's Prime Minister Mute Ejedi highlighted a growing desire for independence from Denmark in his New Year's speech, signaling a shift in the island's future direction. Echoing past comments by U.S. President-elect Trump, who expressed interest in ownership and control of Greenland. The PM stressed the importance of Greenland taking control of its own future and determining its key international partnerships. The independence movement, fueled by historical grievances against Denmark, has gained momentum, with Greenland having the legal right to seek independence following the 2009 vote. While a majority of Greenlanders support independence, there is a debate over timing and potential economic consequences. Despite the island's rich resources, its economy remains fragile, reliant on fishing and Danish grants. Greenland has rejected Trump's offers to purchase the island in 2019 and again last year, with the PM firmly stating, quote, "Greenland is ours, we're not for sale," unquote. On Thursday, January 2nd, the president signed into law the Senator Elizabeth Dole 21st Century Veterans Healthcare and Benefits Improvement Act. The legislation amends various departments of Veterans Affairs authorities addressing healthcare, economic opportunity, disability, and memorial affairs, veteran homelessness, and oversight and investigations. India has reaffirmed the importance of the H-1B visa program, emphasizing its mutual benefits for both the U.S. and India. The visa program, which allows skilled foreign workers, particularly from India's large IT sector, to work in the U.S., has been a point of discussion amid comments by President-elect Donald Trump and billionaire Musk. India accounts for the majority of H-1B visas issued, with about 78% of the 265,777 visas granted in the fiscal year 2023 going to Indian professionals. India's foreign ministry stressed that the mobility of skilled professionals is a key component of the growing economic and technological partnership between the two nations, and the country looks forward to deepening these ties under the new administration. Tesla's global electric vehicle EV sales fell by 1.1% in 2024, marking the company's first year-over-year sales decline since 2011, according to the AP. This setback caused a sharp drop in Tesla's stock price, signaling a rough day for the company, which had previously enjoyed significant growth since 2016, aided by favorable political shifts under Trump. Meanwhile, Chinese automaker BYD is closing in on Tesla's EV dominance, posting record sales in December and continuing to grow its market share despite not being available in the U.S. Turo, a car-sharing service similar to Airbnb, confirmed this week that two violent incidents on New Year's Day involved vehicles rented through its app. In Las Vegas, Army service member Matthew Allen Livelsberger blew up a Cybertruck rented via Turo outside the Trump International Hotel. Hours earlier in New Orleans, U.S. Army veteran Shamsuddin Bahar Jabbar drove a Turo-rented Ford pickup truck through a crowd, killing 14 and injuring dozens. Although the FBI is investigating both incidents as potential terrorism, no connection has been found. Despite the tragedy, Turo maintains that both drivers had clean backgrounds according to its screening process, though Jabbar had previous arrests for theft and driving with an invalid license. The incidents have raised concerns over the platform's safety measures, with some car owners, including the one whose truck was used in the New Orleans attack, planning to stop renting through Turo. U.S. President-elect Trump called to open up the North Sea and eliminate windmills in a social media post, responding to news that U.S. oil producers APA Corp unit plans to exit the region by 2029. Production in the North Sea has declined sharply from its peak in the early 2000s, and the British government's recent increase in windfall tax on oil and gas producers has prompted many companies to exit the basin. Trump's comments come amid growing concerns over the economic impact of higher tax on the oil industry and the challenges facing the offshore wind sector, which has been struggling with rising costs and supply chain issues. As the UK targets decarbonization of its power sector by 2030, the future of both oil and wind energy in the North Sea remains uncertain. Recent social media images of two Chinese tailless military aircraft suggest they are the prototype stealth medium bomber and a new lambda-winged technology demonstrator, according to aerospace experts. The larger aircraft, speculatively identified as the JH-36, may be a medium-range bomber under development by the People's Liberation Army Air Force, PLAAF. Designed to have low observability and advanced capabilities for regional and global strikes. The design features a tailless flying wing structure, 5 flaperons for control, and 3 engines, possibly aimed at enhancing stealth and electronic warfare capabilities. The smaller aircraft, possibly a fighter of uncrewed vehicle, has a lambda wing and twin-engine exhaust, indicating further exploration of stealth and thrust vectoring technologies. Both aircraft may signal advancements on China's air power and align with strategic objectives related to medium-range bombing and evolving technological capabilities. The release of these images coincides with the anniversary of Mao Zedong's birth, a notable date in Chinese aerospace history. South Korean authorities abandoned an attempt to detain President Yoon Suk-yeol for questioning on insurrection charges after a tense, hours-long standoff with his security team. Investigators have yet to decide whether they will make another attempt. The incident has sparked strong reactions, with critics calling for dismissal of those involved in the failed effort, while thousands of Yoon supporters camped outside his residence, pledging to prevent his detention. Supporters of impeached South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol are adopting "Stop the Steal" slogans, popularized by supporters of U.S. President-elect Trump, expressing hope that the incoming U.S. leader will assist their embattled president. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris hosted the swearing-in ceremony at the U.S. Senate. Some remarkable quotes were: Kamala Harris said to Senator Sanders, quote, "Stand right here, although that's not your nature to just stand where you're told to stand, but give it a try." Another, Kamala Harris said to Senator Caligo's son, who told her that he was sorry she didn't win. She said, quote, "We're not defeated," and unquote, and she tried to console him. Now, why did the Syrian leader and German FM did not shake hands? Syrian leader al-Shara and German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock did not shake hands during their meeting due to cultural and religious norms. Many Muslim diplomats, particularly those adhering to strict traditions, avoid physical contact with women. Al-Shara greeted Baerbock with a bow, while she responded by folding her hands to show respect for local customs. The German Foreign Ministry later emphasized its commitment to gender equality and protecting ethnic and religious groups in Syria, while France expressed hopes for a stable and peaceful country. In other news, the U.S. Justice Department and Boeing informed a federal court on Friday, today, that they have yet to reach a revised plea agreement after a U.S. judge rejected their initial deal in December, citing concerns over a diversity and inclusion provision. In a joint filing, the parties said they're working in good faith toward a new agreement and requested an extension until February 16 to provide an update to U.S. District Judge Reed O'Connor. The original plea agreement announced in July had Boeing pleading guilty to a criminal fraud conspiracy charge following the two fatal 737 MAX crashes. As part of the deal, the aerospace giant agreed to pay a fine of up to $487.2 million and allocate $455 million to enhance safety and compliance practices during 3 years of court-supervised probation. The delay underscores the complexity of revising the plea agreement to address the court's concerns while ensuring accountability for the crashes that claimed hundreds of lives. Venezuelan opposition leader Edmundo Gonzalez is set to embark on a regional tour to Uruguay and Panama in the days leading up to January 10th inauguration of President Nicolas Maduro. The opposition maintains that Gonzalez won the July election by landslide and a claim that challenges Maduro's legitimacy. According to Venezuela's opposition, Gonzalez will meet with Uruguayan President Luis Lacalle Pou during his visit to Uruguay and on this Saturday. Panama's La Estrella newspaper reported that Gonzalez is expected to continue to Panama on Wednesday as part of his diplomatic outreach. Previously, Gonzalez announced plans to begin his Latin America trip with a stop in Argentina on Saturday. Currently residing in Spain due to an outstanding warrant for his arrest in Venezuela, Gonzalez's travels reflect efforts to garner regional support amid the contested political landscape. Now, Federal Reserve Governor Adriana Kugler highlighted the U.S. Central Bank's cautious approach to monetary policy in 2025, emphasizing that upcoming economic data will guide decisions. In a Friday interview with CNBC, Kugler acknowledged uncertainty about the year ahead, pointing to evolving inflation pressures and a resilient but cooling job market. With the Federal Reserve forecasting fewer interest rate cuts in 2025 during its December meeting, Kugler suggested a measured pace. Quote, "We can take our time to slow down and be more gradual," unquote, she said, while closely monitoring inflation trends. However, she stressed that the Fed's readiness to adjust policy if economic conditions shift significantly, particularly if the job market deteriorates. Kugler described the current economy as in a good place, with historically low unemployment despite signs of labor market cooling. Reflecting on the broader uncertainty, she said, "We're always responding to what happens in the economy and seeing what is happening in front of us." The return of President-elect Trump introduces further economic unpredictability. Kugler noted the lack of clarity around his policies, including proposed trade tariffs and deportations, which many economists warned could stoke inflation. "There is a wide set of scenarios, and I think everybody's considering the wide set of scenarios," she remarked. Richmond Fed President Thomas Barking echoed these sentiments, predicting an extended period of uncertainty as policies are finalized. Barking flagged inflation risks, stating, "I see more risk on the inflation side, but assured that the Fed is well positioned for potential economic challenges." At its December Federal Open Market Committee meeting, the Fed lowered its interest rate target range to between 4.25% and 4.5%, while revising inflation projections upward and reducing anticipated rate cuts for 2025. This shift prompted questions about the rationale behind the rate cut, given persistent inflation concerns. Kogler expressed a preference for maintaining a restrictive policy stance, quote, "I put myself in the camp of wanting to stay restrictive for longer," unquote, she said, countering views that the Fed should quickly return rates to neutral. As 2025 unfolds, the Fed faces significant challenges in navigating economic uncertainty, managing inflation risks, and adapting to the potential policy shifts under the incoming Trump administration. Now, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is set to travel to the Republic of Korea, Japan, and France from January 4th to 9th as part of a series of high-level engagements aimed at bolstering alliances and addressing global challenges. In South Korea, Secretary Blinken will meet with senior officials to reaffirm the strong U.S.-ROK alliance and explore ways to expand their collaboration on pressing global issues. The discussions will focus on advancing shared values and reinforcing efforts to ensure a free, open, and prosperous Indo-Pacific region. Trilateral cooperation with Japan will also be a key topic, underscoring the importance of the ROK and U.S.-Japan partnership in addressing regional and global security concerns. During his visit to Japan, Secretary Blinken will engage with senior Japanese officials to review the significant progress made in the U.S.-Japan alliance. These discussions aim to deepen collaboration on a wide range of bilateral, regional, and global issues while continuing to strengthen trilateral ties with South Korea. In France, Secretary Blinken will meet with top French officials to address pressing challenges in Europe, the Middle East, and other regions. This visit highlights the vital partnership between the United States and France, emphasizing their shared commitment to global stability and security. This trip underscores the Biden administration's focus on fostering strong alliances and promoting multilateral cooperation to address global challenges. Secretary Blinken's engagements will aim to build on recent momentum in U.S. partnerships and alliances across the Indo-Pacific and Europe. A judge has scheduled Donald Trump's sentencing for January 10th in the criminal case concerning hush money payments to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. Trump, who was convicted in May for falsifying business records related to a $130,000 payment, will be sentenced just days before his inauguration as president. The judge, Justice Juan Merchan, rejected Trump's motion to dismiss the case, emphasizing that a sentence of unconditional discharge with no jail time or probation may be the most appropriate. Prosecutors suggested possible alternatives to ensure the case does not interfere with Trump's presidency, including delaying sentencing until after he leaves office. This marks the first time a U.S. president, former or sitting, has been convicted of a criminal offense. And by the way, he can attend this sentencing virtually due to, quote, stress of the transition period, unquote. And that's all that I have for you for today. Please check out AM Actual News live stream that premiered on YouTube. The link is in the description of this episode as well as in your newsletter. And please check the newsletter. There you find actual news. Also, throughout the day, we're updating Onest Network website constantly with all the breaking news and actual factual news. Thank you so much for listening. We're off for the weekend. Have a wonderful, peaceful, happy weekend. And we'll see you back on Monday on the Actual News Podcast.